So I'm Ezhilarasi. I'm a lead product consultant of Serverless 360, a product built in Azure for Azure. So let's get started with the introduction of what are all the services that are being offered under Enterprise Integration Platform, and then we'll go ahead solving problem statements. So this is a holistic view of Azure Enterprise Integration Platform. For people to understand better, I have tried categorizing them into the various business areas or needs where they fit in. Say for example, I have an front-end web application. Imagine your any e-commerce site, Amazon or Flipkart that you work with. So you have a front-end interface and you have a back-end system that's processing the orders that we place, isn't it? So to ensure high efficiency of these systems, irrespective of the load that it is facing, the traffic that it is facing, we need to decouple these two components. So the decoupling is a literal meaning of detaching these two services. So irrespective of whether my backend application is up and running now or not, I can still place my order. Thus, backend application will pick it up at its own convenience and then process it. So that is what we mean by decoupling. So here is where a service like a service bus queue can be put in. So in my front-end website, I add my items, I submit an order, it gets compiled as a message, gets into the queue. And my backend order processing application can pick up this message and process it at its convenience. How well does this service fit into the real-time scenario? Yes? So this is just an example of one of the services that I have mentioned here under messages and events. Yes? So have you observed the modern applications now? We are no longer creating everything from scratch, right? So the business demands us to take advantage of existing systems. Yes, imagine an existing ERP system, which my organization is already utilizing, and I have an existing asset management system. I need to integrate them both. Yes, integration is the key. How do you make your existing systems interoperate so that you achieve your business needs at ease without investing more time or effort? So that's the key here. That's where services like Logic Apps can be an excellent candidate. Like this Logic App has got inbuilt set of connectors that can seamlessly connect with your ERP system like SAP or your asset management system like IBM Maximo, and without writing a single line of code, you can achieve this integration at ease. So that's the power of enterprise integration platform that Azure provides. Yes. So these are just a couple of examples. So as I proceed further, I'm going to take 3 real-time scenarios which are really different from each other that will help you understand or at least visualize the way you can solve your problem statements differently as we proceed further. Yes, are you all with me? Yes? So 2 things are very important, right? So what are all the services that we are going to use, the choice of the services, and how are we going to put them together? Is there a framework? Is there a defined process through which I can ensure that I don't make much mistakes? Yes, Azure does define and well-architectured framework, and it's going to guide us through this process of building our Azure integration. So it clearly defines the what is all I need to consider when I am building my application. The first and foremost, reliability. Any application that we build needs to be reliable, isn't it? It should be available to the end user whenever it is expected to be available. Even if it fails, it should fail safe. It should be resilient. Failures are inevitable with a modern scenario wherein we might have to deal with a massive amount of information, but your system should restore back. So how are you going to ensure that your system is reliable? Cost optimization. One of the main reasons why organizations adopt to cloud is to reduce the pre-computation cost or keep the cost spent on building an application in control, isn't it? But this also turns out to be a challenge. That is when you are not very clear about where you are spending, we tend to spend more. But we have to ensure that your cost is optimized so that your Azure or your cloud adoption is done right. Operational excellence. So you might have guessed bit, like I was talking about service bus and logic app, wherein a lot of complexity in building the solution is concealed, isn't it? So when I have to build an classic queuing system on my own, I might be writing thousands and thousands of lines of code. But here I get it as a service, I just plug it into my system and it starts working in a minute. But it also comes in place as a black box. Like I don't understand if there is a dead letter message in my queue, why did it end up in my queue as a dead letter message? When we say dead letter, the term means that this message could not be processed now. Connect it with your order that we were talking. This order is not processed now, which means it's a business failure. How am I going to deal with it? That's my operations, right? Day in and day out, how am I going to deal with failures in my business operations? That's a bit of challenge, but you do have tool sets that will help you monitor your resources and then help you spotlight where exactly the problem is. Performance efficiency. So in comparison to the classic way of building applications, retaining performance efficiency in cloud is pretty much simple, but we need to take care of this as a parameter as we build the application. So you need to take care of an holistic NFRs, that is, so architecturing involves consideration on non-functional requirements, which are these, that is your reliability, security, operational excellence, cost optimization, and performance efficiency. So we need to take care of all these parameters when we build together, when we build an Azure integration by putting together the enterprise services that's being offered by Azure. Yes, having said this, should we also have to be aware of certain challenges that enterprises are going through? Yes, so I'm glad to throw light on one challenge that's found to be common among the enterprise integrations, and I'm also proud to say that we have come up with a solution that can solve this seamlessly. It's not just a statement, I'm going to show you proofs that has been identified in organizations who have improved their operational efficiency drastically by adopting to this tool. So what is a challenge here? So as you see here, this is a typical support escalation path. So we are now talking about the operations that comes in after I build the application. Imagine I have chosen the right Azure services, I have built an application and it is in production now. How do I ensure that I operate efficiently on that? Say a customer comes and says that my particular order is missing. It's a $1 billion question the business users would be struck with, right? How are you going to enable them to understand which service has failed and how they can rectify it, right? That's a question that we need to answer when you need to take the complete advantage of Azure Enterprise Integration Services. And the best part is we have already solved it using the tool Serverless 360, which is defined for achieving operational excellence on top of Azure. It obviously takes advantage of the APIs that the Azure portal exposes, and it gives you an operation-friendly interface that can help your team work with your Azure resources without any complexity. So the challenge here is Azure portal is powerful for building enterprise-grade applications and with a lesser time to market, cost efficiently. But this also results in an elevated total cost of ownership where the support overload is put on the developers. And we are in short of Azure experts. Like we do not have Azure experts as much as we have rest of the developers. So there is a demand to shift left your support. That is, you need to democratize support, enable your non-Azure expert team to deal with your Azure integration. So I think an example would be better, helpful for you to understand. See, this is my Azure portal. As I have told you, for this demo, I created 3 different business applications, which I will be showcasing as we proceed further. So these are the bunch of resource groups and becomes more complex as I get into the number of resources that I have. Do I get to understand the status of these business applications here? Do I get any inference here on the status of these resources? No, right? But in contrast, say I'm going to show you an interface like this, wherein The resources are segregated according to their business application context with an instant feedback on their status. I get into the application, drill down to understand what exactly the problem is and how to rectify it. So this exactly is what I'm talking about as the very familiar term observability. That is, you have your Azure integration growing drastically. You very soon will lose observability on it. You don't get in context of what is the constitution of this resource into which business application, what's its status at this point in time. So that can be very well solved using Serverless 360. So that is why Microsoft itself recommends Serverless 360 as the best tool to monitor the Azure integrations in multiple of their places. And this is what we could achieve by implementing Serverless 360 in global enterprises. Now getting back into the story, like we talked about fundamentals of Azure Enterprise Integration Services, how do we choose a well-architected framework to build it right, and then what is that we need to be aware of to address the operational challenge that you might be encountering. Yes? Now, let us pick up few interesting scenarios and we will choose the right enterprise integration services, build the Azure solution. I'll also show you some of the services that I have defined in the Azure portal, and then we will try to analyze what challenges you might encounter in real time. Yes? You all are with me, right? Yes? So this is an car appointment scenario. Imagine this particular car service company has got sales development representatives who will go around the city, inspect their customers' call and then cars, and then send out a request to the centralized system stating that this particular car is due for service. Yes, so my garage unit or the application is going to get requests from my sales development representatives every day in and day out. And these requests should be processed by the end of the day and the responses should be sent back to the sales development representatives after the service is completed. Yes, so this is an IT system at the background of a car appointment booking. Yes, so this is how it works. I have a representative who pushes information into my database, which is an existing system, and I'm going to bring in integration between my existing database and my backend processing application. Yes, so I need an component here that can send the car appointments to the garage, and I need another component here that's going to process the garage responses and send it back to the existing system's database. Yes, so the next day when my sales development representative logs in and then sees, they have the status of the updated completed services. Yes, so this is a simple scenario. It is a logical representation of this business application. How am I going to solve this? What are the services that I can fit in here inside the black boxes that's going to solve me this? So I'm choosing Logic App because I'm going to integrate existing systems. As I told you at the beginning, Logic App has got extensive list of connectors which is going to facilitate integration of existing systems without writing a single line of code. I can just bring in onboard the connectors, define the actions and ensure that the data flow is achieved. Yes, I'm going to ensure here this information stays within the business domain by choosing an integration account. So this is an integration account that's associated with my Logic App so that this information which is coming in the form of an SFTP file is being retained within my integration account. And when you're exposing your services, say be it a Logic App or a function app, so you can imagine it as an URL. You can, when you hit an URL, you send a request to a website, right? Similarly, you can send a request to a Logic App or a function app by hitting a URL. So this URL should be securely exposed to third-party applications, right? Because you are allowing data in and flow out of information. So that is where you can bring in the component called API. API management system, in which you can define policies that's going to secure your Logic Apps. Yes, does it make sense, people? Yes, rather than doing all of this on our own, we are consuming the services, reliable services from Azure that's going to help us build these systems at ease. Yes. So this is my core appointment system. I will give you a quick glimpse of it in the portal where I have defined it. So I have put the relevant resources into a resource group. This logic app is a key component that's defining my workflow. So this logic app has a convenient interface, a designer interface wherein I can choose the connectors and perform my operation. And there are a few best practices when we work with logic apps. Say each one of this is an logic app action, and it is always a good practice to rename your logic app action with a meaningful statement so that any of your team members when they view it will understand what is the purpose of this connector. So as you read here, this logic app is an HTTP triggered logic app. That is when I hit the HTTP URL of this logic app, I'm posting a request to this logic app. So this is exposed through an APIM and my external system, that is the system used by my salesperson is posting and request to this logic app whenever an core appointment is booked. Yes, as simple as that. So here I define and scope, that is I would like to perform a set of operations. I am going to define a workflow on processing this appointment registration. Yes. So I am going to contain all this set of actions into a scope so that I am defining a transaction. If any of this action fails, I would like to perform a corrective action. This is what we do even in our code, right? Try catch blocks. We write a bunch of logic within a try, and if any exception happens, we would catch it in our catch block. The same is what I have done here, a scope which tries a bunch of activities and I catch that with it in an error part, right? And let me show you how easy it is for me to perform operations like parsing a JSON, or say this is called a dynamic content. That is when a HTTP request is posted to the logic app, the message which is actually being pushed, which has got the information on which car is being requested for service, who is the customer ID. All these would come in as a message, right? You can imagine it as a JSON message. In this case, it's a SFTP file. Yes, so that needs to be parsed into a JSON for my application to further process it, right? So all my other components are going to understand only JSONs. So this itself is a project, right? Processing or parsing an SFTP file into an JSON. So this can be achieved by just adding a connector here, which would parse your JSON. You just give the sample format of your message and feed in the message body into this connector. That's it. It will help you parse it to match the expected format. And that content can be passed on to my further connectors, wherein I integrate it to the external system through APIM, and I update the appointment result into the system. So as you observe here, this entire workflow is defined without writing a single line of code. So that is the power of logic apps. So instead of reinventing the wheel, wherein there is a lot of challenge of ensuring that the standards are met, this is a quicker way to build smarter solutions by taking advantage of existing connectors that it has. So, and this logic app has an extensive list of connectors to give you a glimpse of, see, these is a bunch of connectors that are available. Anything that you need, you search for it, you will get it. Say an SAP system, or you can also create your custom connector and then publish it into your subscription so it becomes available to you. So this is how we have solved the scenario 1. Yes. So in this scenario, what could be a potential challenge? So we work with logic apps. What could be a potential challenge? See, every request that's being posted to the logic app will be an separate execution, right? So as you see here, it has all succeeded. What if there is a failure? How do I recognize a failure? What does it mean to my business? A request has been missed processing. Can I afford that in a highly critical business application? Definitely not, right? So being aware of failure in my logic app is very important when I need to address my business efficiency. So that is where you can rely on a portal like Serverless 360, which can help you identify if there is an issue with your underlying service. And if I have a logic app that's being associated as a part of a resource, every support user, so let us look at this system from a support user's perspective. When I start my day, I just need to ensure that there is no failures in my action required tab. So which means I'm safe, my application is safe. So if there is an error, then I need to act on it. So and this tool gives you the complete tool set that can help you investigate further into the error and then rectify the issues. So as of now, all my systems are clean, but I do have one service that will help me demonstrate this error. So what if it's a service bus queue and I have a dead letter messages? So this is how it spotlights the issue, and I have the right tool set that can help me to retrieve the errors and then reprocess it. So it's critical that we choose the right tools that can help us operate efficiently with the business application that we have built using Azure services. So now let us get into the scenario 2. This is a finance scenario. So the finance team uses SAP. So iDocs are published from my SAP system, and it integrates further with multiple other cloud solutions. So I'm going to use and publish subscriber pattern. That is, I'm going to publish the iDoc files, and I have multiple subscribers who are going to get these files for further processing. Yes. So for this, I might have to deal with messages like matmas and order S05. So if you don't understand all this, don't worry. It is an ERP system is connecting with an asset management system. That's all you need to know. And we are going to deal with different type of message formats. So that's the takeaway here. So I need an publisher iDoc component that is capable of publishing the message that's received from an ERP system, which is SAP here, and it is going to convert the message to a format that IBM Maximo, which is an asset management system, to process it further. Yes. So as the situation sounds complex, involving multiple other messages, so here the right choice of Azure services can help you address this issue at ease. So here I'm going to take advantage of logic apps and service bus queues. So this logic app's purpose is to read the iDoc message from my SAP system, and it's going to compile it as a message and then push it to service bus queue. I have multiple other logic apps because we were talking about multiple internal applications to receive this message and then process, right? So in this case, I'm going to choose a queuing mechanism which is capable of sending out the same messages to multiple subscriptions. That's a service bus topic. So a queue is a one-to-one, whereas a topic is one-to-many. So I can have multiple subscribers who is going to take the message that's getting into this topic. Yes, so that's the solution I'm taking advantage of here, and I have a logic app which is being triggered whenever a new message comes into this particular service bus topic subscription. Yes, and it is exposed to IBM Maximo through APIM. Just like we saw in the previous statement, when you want to define a custom policy, APIM is a medium through which you can expose your endpoints that can help you secure it and then implement policies. Yes. So since we are running out of time, let me jump on to the next scenario, which is an IT helpdesk application, wherein say we have an COVA an organization which has got multiple branches, and end of the day, all the branch offices will submit SFTP updates files to the main server, which is an headquarters, right? So this is all archived into a data lake, and we need to build up a Power BI interface, which is going to give me analytics on how are my branch offices are working. Yes, so this even might sound really complex, but building this solution with taking advantage of enterprise integration services is quite straightforward. So whenever we are dealing with the data, which is crucial in the modern applications, so we do have specified services which are excellent in dealing with our information. For example, a data factory. When you need to extract, transform and load your information, data factory is an excellent choice, and you can define a pipeline which can be triggered at specific time of a day. So in this case, my requirement was to process it by the end of the day and send out the processed information into a data lake. So my initial form of information is an SFTP file, but I am going to convert it into a data lake storage information so that Power BI is compatible with the data lake and it can give me analytics out of the captured information. So that's the idea here, which is also a straightforward solution to implement in the Azure portal. Let me quickly show you the same in the Azure portal. This is a daily file replication component, and here is my data factory component. Since we have already seen the Since we already saw a logic app, let me pick up on data factories. And here I would like to emphasize on the in-house monitoring solution that Azure portal offers as the studio launches. So here we talked about pipelines within data factory, right? Data factory is a service, and within the data factory we can define pipelines that describes how this operation is going to be performed. So in this case, an SFTP file should be extracted, transformed and loaded into a data lake. That is my pipelines definition, right? So here is my pipeline definition. Moving the files is my pipeline definition. As you see here, it is all presented to me in a designer view where I have existing components which I can import and then take advantage of. So here even I can skip writing any line of code. I can take advantage of the existing pipeline components to build the actual operation that I would like to perform on. So I strongly insist that your exposure into Azure integration services is going to transform the way you build business applications. So rather than building anything from the scratch, take advantage of reliable services that's being provided by enterprise cloud solution providers like Azure, and then start building your smarter applications in sooner time to market. And you need to be aware of one more key concept as well. That is, how do we ensure that we don't overrun the cost? So as you know, there are roles that's being spent called cloud economists, right? So whose dedicated responsibility is to ensure that we don't overspend in Azure, isn't it? So that's where a tool set like this can come into picture as a savior. So wherein I can get a visualization of how much have I been spending on the resources of particular type within this particular subscription, or a specific EAI platform, a specific platform, how much does it cost for me for an over period of time. Or I can also compare this cost spending across different time duration. Say this month I have spent $45. What has been my spending on the last month? So I can choose two different time frames and try to understand how has been my spend in the two different regions. Say in the September month, how much did I spend? Have I reduced my cost in some means? So yes, I have brought it down by $2. Yes. So this kind of inference can be acquired with the help of the cost analyzer tool set that Serverless 360 offers. So I know we had to rush and then talk about different scenarios, but here is a link wherein I have provided detailed documentation on all the three scenarios that we talked about. So maybe I can quickly show that to you. Wherein I have clearly mentioned what is the overview of the scenario, what is the story behind it, and whatever we discussed today is being in detail captured here. I would appreciate if you go through these and then try to get the complete essence of whatever we discussed today. Apart from this, I also do a few community contributions along with my team in various forms. See, Azure On Air is a podcast show series that we run along with my team members. So we bring in industry experts who work on Azure, and we talk about Azure topics. We have close to 20, 25 plus episodes there, wherein you can listen to when you need to understand the real transformation Azure is making in global enterprises. And Azure serverless recipes is ideal for people who are getting started with building your integrations in Azure, wherein we talk about key business challenges and how do we solve it using Azure services. And serverless node should be a go-to place. I'm a moderator there on the channel, wherein I have brought together, with my team support, we have brought together Azure MVPs from across the globe who contribute tips in this platform. So that has been found useful by a number of Azure developers who are building in Azure. So this is our community presence, wherein you can take advantage of. Thank you for being my wonderful audience.